Hey guys, welcome back to Thoughts on, the series where I just give my thoughts on some media that I've consumed recently. This is going to be a little different than my movie videos. In fact, originally I was going to do this with video game content, but I want to talk briefly about a game I recently played. So, I picked up a while ago Fate Extella, whatever, for the Switch, and I recently played through a little bit of it, and I want to give my thoughts, kind of my first impressions of the game. First and foremost, it's a Musou style game or Warrior style game. If you don't know what that is, think Dynasty Warriors, Samurai Warriors, that kind of thing that Tecmo Koei makes. It's like a hack and slash beat 'em up-y style game, where you're just mowing down enemies a lot of the time. And so I thought, I like the Musou games, it should be interesting. It's not made by Tecmo Koei, but I mean, there's been non-Tecmo Koei Musou style games that have come out, such as my favorite, which is Capcom's Sengoku Basra series. So I thought I'd give it a shot. And it's made by Marvelous, and Marvelous has made a lot of good games. First and foremost, I'm just gonna go out the gate. This game is not good, and what I mean by not good is it misses the mark on what these type of games should be. Now, first and foremost, if you're a fan of Fate, you're probably aware that it's a series based on visual novels. So the game is the series has always been very heavy on story. And this game is definitely heavy on story, almost to a fault. Just for example, the game starts off, you get a little bit of a prologue. They give you a little teaser of gameplay, like it's not even 5 minutes of gameplay, and then it goes into more story, which is totally fine. Games can have a lot of story, but I think it was something like 30 minutes before we got back to gameplay, and for a game that's supposed to be a fast-paced action game, that's not good. It is, like, the story is really well done, like the voice acting is good, and the models look good. If there's one positive I can say about this game is gorgeous. It looks fantastic on the Switch, and as I can't understate that, this game's visuals and presentation are fantastic. The music's an odd choice sometimes, but it's fairly alright as well. The core thing about this game is the gameplay, though. Like, I could excuse overbearing story, I could excuse other elements, but the gameplay is really where this game falls apart. So the main gameplay is like other Musou games, where you're hacking and slashing enemies. But there's a few key differences from other games like the Warriors games. The map, first off, is a lot smaller, which is fine, because if people who came from the Fate games, being used to visual novels or other types of games, maybe they're not used to Warrior style games and hack and slashes, maybe this is an easy way to get them in, and that's fine. You don't need to have long sprawling levels. I think I remember Hyrule Warriors later levels were like hours upon hours of gameplay, and I was like, you don't need a single battle to be like 2-3 hours long, especially not in a hack and slash game. So yeah, it is very slimmed down, but that's okay. There's a few other things too. The game doesn't have, when you're going between points, because the whole point of these type of games is you got to take a point from the enemy, either by defeating the enemies there and capturing it, or defending a point that you own. That's how you gain momentum. Now, it's during the Warriors games, you could just go for the boss and then you'd be fine, but you get more benefits and you have more momentum by taking out bases, and this game definitely does that. And of course, you've got to make your way towards each base before you can take it over. In Fate Extella, what you do is it takes away the in-betweens between bases. You kind of just like teleport essentially from base to base, which is fine, again, if they're trying to streamline it. But it takes away things such as you getting extras. It takes away you getting, like, like guard captains and stuff on the way, which can give you extra items and whatnot, or just finding item bins and item boxes and stuff like that, so you can get healing items and Musou charges and stuff like that. The combat itself is okay. It does follow the same Musou thoughts, where you have regular attacks, you have powered attacks, and then you have like charged Muso attacks. So, and the game has 3 different charges that has, there's the meter at the top, which is your morale meter, which shows your morale based on the enemy's morale. You've got a Muso gauge, which is in charges, based on your character underneath the health. And you can use that to do sort of like a quick time button mashing event to do it, which is actually kind of cool. And then it has the power up form, or what I like to call the Super Saiyan form. In this game, it's getting a powered up form. Like, for example, Saber has like this super like fire punch mode, which is really cool. They can build up. And that's all fine. The part that this falls apart is that, and a problem that a lot of people have with these type of games is that it gets pretty monotonous. So you have in each base you have a bunch of enemies, and normally what you do is, you'll be surrounded by enemies, and then there'll be like upper tier enemies like captains or admirals or something that own the base, and by defeating the guard captains or whatever, you gain control of that base. Well, in this game, they don't show up right away. You gotta fight your way through a couple of enemies, lower the morale a bit, and then they'll show up. And usually it's like, and in other Muso games, it's either 1 or 2 or a few, and it's not uncommon to get into a bigger base that has multiple captains and guides. But this game has, like, I think I count, like, way too many. Like, I think I counted in one of the bases 10 different, like, captain rank, like, enemies, and that's a lot for one base. Another thing I want to mention is a common thing is bases getting taken over in the Muso games. So if a base gets taken over, you got to make your way back to defend it, or to make sure it doesn't get taken over, whatever, when they get attacked. In most Muso games, you have a lot of time to do that. You've got a lot of time to do that because you've got to walk from one part. Sometimes you got to walk from one part of the map to the other, and other times you have to. And usually you can get stuff along the way to help you out to build your morale. And Fate Extella, it actually doesn't give you much time, and you got to get over there ASAP, because if you don't, you're gonna lose that. You're gonna lose that base, and you'll lose progress, and you'll have to do stuff over again, or get that base back, or just do other things. And it's, I don't know, it like, there are many times I would have to go to a base multiple times because one of my bases would get attacked, and if I didn't go to that base right away, I was going to lose it. So, I mean, it's just, it was just a bit of a pain. Overall, for the game, I just found it kind of dull and dry, and I like different things like the costumes that you could put on. I liked the bits of the story, like the character personality and stuff like that. But the story itself is kind of dull, and maybe it's just because it's supposed to be coming from a visual novel kind of series, and maybe if you're a fan of Fate, you'll enjoy that. But I don't know, I was playing with my friend Billy, and he's a Fate fan, and even he was like, this is dull and boring, and I just want to get to the gameplay. And thankfully, this game has an option where you can set the text to be instant instead of waiting for it to load to go through the text bubbles. But and I did still try to read everything, but I was speed reading because I'm like, let's just get to the next content. Like, it's just too much time in between battles. And I know in some games it's good to strategize and whatnot, but there's not a lot of strategy in this game either. Like in other Muso games, like Sengoku Basara, half of the prep is strategy. Is like, what weapons do you bring? Like, what do you build up? Fire Emblem Warriors is another good example. I could spend like hours doing prep, and I would enjoy it because that's a good part of the game. This game doesn't really have that much prep. You equip skills and that's it. Like, it's not that creative. But yeah, the other thing I gotta say is there's no co-op, which is a real bummer, because what makes these games great is a co-op aspect, and this game really could have used it. I mean, there's so many. The Fate series has so many of the I don't know what you call them, weapon class characters, that you could have made it. You had so many characters you could have easily, even from the series that this is what's based on, and I can't remember what it's called. It's the one with the red saber who's called Nero, whatever. I can't remember the end. I don't know Fate very well. I am trying to get into it though. But yeah, it's this game just kind of just misses the mark for me. And that's not to say that it's the worst Warriors game. It's just a very flawed one. There are worse ones out there. I played some bad ones, even ones made by Tecmo Koei. But it's not a super fun game. If you're a fan of Fate, you might get something out of it. But honestly, it's not really worth your time. There are other Musou games I would highly recommend. Any of the Sengoku Basra games, for example, except Devil Kings, because that game's hard, especially if it's your first one, or any of the Dynasty Warriors or Samurai Warriors or any of those. Like, those games are great. Fire Emblem Warriors, great pick if you're just staying on the Switch and you want something that's in a similar sort of style. Fire Emblem Warriors is fantastic. It's actually one of the best Musou games ever made because of the way it plays. So, but anyways, that's it. I just want to talk about it. I don't really have like a scoring system, but this game is just above average for me. If you want to pick it up, it is on the Switch. I think it's digital and physically. I have a physical copy. And if you want to support me, consider backing me on Patreon, because where you can get behind the scenes extras, early access to videos, and a whole lot more. Shout out to my patrons on the screen here. You can follow me on Facebook at Zeromaster fan page, at Twitter at Zeromaster, and I stream on Twitch on twitch.tv/Zeromaster Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8:03 p.m. Eastern Time. If you want more content, I'm going to put up one of my reviews over here on this side, and probably put up my new music review show on the other side that I do called Monthly Album Reviews, so check that out. Thanks for listening, guys, and I'll see you on the next one. Leave me a comment down below and let me know if you like this stuff. Thanks.